Everyone, thanks for tuning in. We are Mr. X. Here on the Extreme channel, we absolutely love Venom. If you're new to the channel, he is one of my favorite characters, and I have owned so many different Venom statues. I've owned close to 40 different ones. There's about 20 on this wall right over here, and I have a bunch more coming in. And with that many Venom statues, you really have to decide which is the best one. And I'm thinking this might be it. Now, if you're disagreeing with me, we can change it. There you go. Even better. And if you don't like this, we could do this all day long. But we're not going to because we're busy. That's not true either. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Thank you so much for tuning into the Extreme channel. Today we have an amazing statue. If you're a follower of this channel, you know that this has been one of my most anticipated custom statues for years now. That's right, this is a custom, means it's a private unlicensed commission. Marvel didn't approve of this, but I bet you Donny Cates, the creator of this version of Venom, absolutely would, because that's what this is from. If you don't know the whole Absolute Carnage King in Black event that happened in the last 3 or 4 years in the Venom comics, you're thinking, that's stupid. Why does Venom have wings? As you can see in Venom number 3, this cover right here, which is a Scan variant cover, he actually did have wings. So this is in the future. Cletus Cassidy, who is Carnage, was killed, but then he was brought back to life by some mystical forces and has the power of a god. He actually fought a symbiote dragon, got some of its powers, and he is going around preparing for Knull. Knull is the king of the symbiotes, one of the most powerful Marvel characters ever. I've actually done a review and talked more about him in this Knull on Throne statue right here. And he is coming to Earth to destroy everybody and everything, and he almost does. However, Venom also gets some new powers, becomes godlike. During that story, part of it is he has wings. So there is comic basis for this. You guys know I like to buy slabs that actually match my statues or vice versa. That's the case here. And this one has so many different cool things going on. So let's dive into the review right now, starting with concept of this piece. Now the difficult part is there are so many design options, it does change the concept. So I'm going to talk about it like it sits now because this is how I plan to display it directly off the cover. So Venom is sitting there on top of a building, and we talk about this all the time. He's either in a sewer or on the top of a building. This makes even more sense though because he has wings. Now the wings are optional, as you saw. We'll talk more about that in display options. The one I have now, he doesn't have Miles Morales below him, although he could. It's funny, in the Absolute Carnage and King in Black events, Miles Morales gets the shit kicked out of him every single time. He also becomes a evil Carnage symbiote, which is one of the options on here, a nullified version, if you will. We'll talk more about that. I'm probably just confusing you now. But very creature-esque Venom is. Very big, bulky, evil. But still, you know it's Venom by the costume, the spider, the black symbiote all over him, the black symbiote coming out of the back, and these giant, huge wings, making this probably one of the tallest quarter-scale statues I've ever had in a collection. I definitely think the spot I'm going to put him will fit, because it's always bigger than you think it will be.
That's what she said.
The concept, what I love about it, like I said, while design is part of this, it's directly off the comic. It's something that hasn't been done before with Venom, and there are so many cool ways you can do this. The concept is a 5 out of 5, easy for me. Now, if you haven't read this storyline, I really encourage you to pick up the new Venomnibus, the Venom Omnibus by Donny Cates, or the King in Black Omnibus. Venom is really all you need, but they're both fantastic, and to me, it's one of the best storylines Marvel has had in the past 20 years. So maybe that's why I have more attachment to it. But when it comes to the design, that's kind of a moot point. The design just has some freaking cool stuff. So before we look at that, here's the unboxing and assembly. These two huge boxes both weighed over 50 pounds. On the inside was the traditional custom black foam and straps. So first box, the first layer had one of the wings and a bunch of miscellaneous parts from portraits to symbiote pieces. Second layer, very similar, another wing, some of the base pieces. And third layer was more base pieces. So the other box had a plethora as well. Everything was kind of everywhere. I hope I never have to pack this back up. All right, while there's different display options that we're going to look at it, we're going to measure this one right here. So the widest part down below of the base is 16 inches. With the symbiote, it's probably about 19. And then the deepest part, again, not the wings, but the bottom of the base is 9. The top of the base is more about 19. And of course, let's see how tall this beast is. He is towering just under 39.5 inches or so. And then the widest part of the wingspan is 34 inches. Which, shit, that could be a problem. All right, so I'm going to figure that out. But first, let's look into the countless display options there are. Starting with portrait. First is one that is very close to the cover. There's two that are really close to the cover, a little bit of difference. This first one we're looking at is my favorite. His tongue's going the opposite way of the cover, but I think the eyes are more accurate and he has some saliva. Then you have another one here, different teeth. Eyes are a little bit different and tongue going the other way with no saliva. You have the nullified version, so this red circular target on the head is when Knull or Carnage has actually taken control of the people who have the symbiote in the comic, which did happen to Venom for a short period of time. Then you have a transformation portrait, and this looks absolutely amazing. It's funny, my kids saw this. They're like, why does he have long hair? Eddie Brock has long hair in this storyline. So we're going to talk more about this in Paint and Sculpt, but it's a really, really good transformation portrait. Now, those portraits do leave a seam line. It's not that bad on the actual statue. It is a lot worse on the additional display holder. So they made a few different versions of this. This is the ultimate version that has everything. And as you see, it has really another statue that not only can you display the additional portraits on, but you can display the wings on this one, as you saw at the beginning of the video. Now, if you're going to display the wings on one of them, obviously you need to fill something in those keyholes in the back. So this is what that looks like. And of course, there is a nasty seam like this, and they're actually kind of hard to get out. But they gave you an additional sculpted piece of rock that you can put anywhere. And it has a magnet in it that actually lifts those pieces out. It would help if I would use the magnet side, which in my opinion is genius. Now, we're not done with the display options yet. On the main one here, you have a few different choices besides the actual portraits. One, like we talked about, here's a picture of it with the wings. And then one without the wings. And you can have him leaning directly on the top of the building, the gargoyles here, like I do. Or you could actually put Miles Morales below him. You essentially have to remove Venom and then remove this top gargoyle, and there's a different one that has a keyhole for Miles to put right in. But if you don't want to do that, you can set Miles on his own display base over here as a proximity piece. You can put it next to it, behind it, in front of it, where you want to go, and there's symbiotes grabbing him. And I kind of like that because I don't like Venom attacking Miles. It was more the other symbiotes that were going after him. Now, I do have a nullified or venomized Miles Morales on order, so it might look weird with all of them on display. But this is how I plan to display it, switching out the portraits from time to time. I think I'll be okay where he's going to sit, actually, though. If you want to see where he sits with all the other Venoms, I'm going to post a video in the next week or two, so check out the Extreme Channel social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. The link for those is in the description below. So there are some other seam lines as well, mainly where the symbiote pieces connect to other symbiote pieces or to the bases. Pretty marginal in my opinion, and it's almost needed because if you shipped it all built together, it would have broken shipping. I had no broken pieces despite those huge heavy boxes. So I think the design is a very solid 4 out of 5. It's not perfect, but I love all the different things you could do with it. It almost makes me want to have 2 statues. I wouldn't want to pay the money for 2 statues, but that is pretty cool. And it seems like you already have 2 statues with everything that's going on. Maybe even 3 with the Miles Morales. Let's dive into Paint and Sculpt. And as a disclaimer, I was a little iffy pulling stuff out of the box. One of the things I thought that the black on Venom was a little bit too matte. I didn't like some of the colors in the white parts. And I'm still not a huge fan, but it's not bad. Check out what I'm talking about. All right, there's so much to look at here. Let's just start with the bases, which are very similar, other than the fact that the actual base on the symbiote has a glistening moist effect they added. And it's not on this one, which is kind of interesting. Now, that being said, I think they both look good. This one has a lot more of the tendrils where Venom's kind of melting into it, which is pretty cool. We didn't really talk about it in concept because this really could be another Venom statue even with the portraits coming out, which we'll look at in a second. But I think it looks good. I think the mix between gray, brown, and green on these really give it that old rustic style feel. You can see the cinder blocks in there. I love the way the symbiote wraps around it. The gargoyle faces look absolutely fantastic. Reminds me of Morbius quite a bit. And it's interesting, on the cover, you actually can't see what he's on. So that was an interpretation from the artist that created these statues, I believe. So, and same thing with Miles' base. We're going to look at Miles here first now. You have the symbiote going everywhere. Some of it's glistening, some of it's not. I really like the hooks on this, where it's really coming down on Miles. And he looks great. I love the tears in his uniform. The blood isn't too gory. It's kind of weird because it's the same color as the tread in his costume, but they did a nice job on Miles. Probably the weakest part of the statue is like the Miles eye right there and the eyebrow. I mean, he's definitely needs to go see someone about that. But the costume looks fantastic. Not only the texture, but the way it flows on his body. The rips. Really, really nice job on Miles overall. I'm going to look at the portraits. First, this transformation portrait that I absolutely love. I love it for a number of reasons. One, because it's so different. I love how his hair is flowing and it's different colors, because when he transforms, it's not just the Venom costume coming onto him, although that's part of it. But like, look at his teeth. That looks so good. The eyes, the skin color. You can see, I never know what to call that, but the red part right here. The hair looks fantastic, the flow of it. The nullified one, I really like this one too, just because it was such an evil part of the comic and almost scary to an extent. Here is the portrait that is more like the cover, almost like a Del Otto eye almost. Nice glistening aspect on the tongue. Doesn't have the saliva that this one has dripping down. Now, interesting part of this, they have some red really coming up past the eye here. I've never seen that in a Venom. All the eyes have a darker shading inside of it. It's more of a black shading than some of the blue you traditionally see. Now, with the Venom body, this is the paint I don't like right there. Too much brown. And I've said this before about other, I think it just needs to be like a hint of brown in there. But even on his arm pads here, I think they did a great job on the body. Very nullified. I mean, the symbiote looks like it's moving, and he's almost, more creature-esque, like I always talk about. Everything's overemphasized. The inside of the wings look great. I'm glad they didn't go too bloody or too deep. There's so many parts to this statue, we could just look at it for hours, but they did a really nice job overall on the paint and sculpt. I'm really impressed. Starting with the paint, other than my biggest issue I still can't get over is where the how much dirt they added into the Venom symbol and like his hand pads. We talked about that. And that is a comic basis, but this is a little bit too much. But I think it's still a 4 out of 5 overall. They did a really nice job. It flows together really well. Sculpt, I think, is even better than that. This sculpt is absolutely amazing on every single part of it. I think it's a 5 out of 5 on the sculpt. They knocked this out of the park. So while I'm loving this statue, it was a lot of money, but not really. So this is quarter scale, but like I said, it really takes up a lot more room than that. It's bigger than most third scale statues. I almost have 3 statues in here. All in, excluding shipping, this was $1,300. Shipping was around $500, so we'll say it's $1,800 all in, 3 quarter scale statues. Normally customs, they make about 40 or 50. They made 120 of these. Now, I don't think that's 120 of the Ultimate and then some without the additional Miles Morales or the additional head display. But I think it's 120 total. But I still think that's a good value. I always base it on, hey, if I wanted to sell this tomorrow for what I paid for, $1,800, could I do that? I think I could easily do that, although a lot of people are trying to sell them right now. But I think this is a 4 out of 5. I think I could make a profit. I have zero plans to. Like I said, this is from one of my favorite storylines in Marvel of all time, from one of my favorite characters, and it's so cool. Which brings us to the last category, which is kind of obvious. Does it have the X factor? This is when you walk in, is this awesome? I think this is going to be the #1 go-to in the Venom display. I can't wait to move it over there and see what it looks like. This is a 5 out of 5 statue. It did not disappoint. It actually had more things on it than I remembered when I ordered it a few years ago. So super, super happy. Going to put the slab right next to him. I can't say how much I love this statue. And again, if you're a follow the channel, you know I love Venom, so that's probably part of it. But what do you guys think? Best Venom statue out there? If not, which one is it? And again, this is art, so it's subjective. So if someone disagrees with you, call their mom names and cry like a baby. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey, thank you so much once again. Absolutely amazing piece. I couldn't be happier right now because it's also Saturday morning and I'm about to get a beer. But I really appreciate you guys. Please give this statue a like. If you like stuff like this, sub to the channel. We have tons of stuff like this all the time. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.